Ladies and gentlemen, Trump told the truth about everything. He told the truth about everything. Let's go down the list of topics they said Trump was lying about that we eventually learned he was telling the truth about while they were lying. So, he was never installed by the Kremlin. He never took advantage of any Facebook ads because we don't know how many people altered their votes. And not one person said, oh, look, a Facebook ad and a Twitter bot. I'm going to vote now for Trump over Clinton. That never happened, ever. There's no evidence. There's zero evidence of that. And pointing to James Clapper or Brennan or Comey or an ODNI report or a DHS report or a Senate panel shows, if a person were to point there, just shows how much of an imbecile that person would be. There's no evidence. You can't simply say, well, they think it happened. There is not a number of people that they could point to that said, oh, those people saw Facebook ads. So that's about 10, 15,000. I think it was around 20,000 or so that could have swung things either way. You're never going to get 20,000 people or 10,000 people or 5,000 people or 1,000 people to say, oh, I looked at this Facebook ad. They can't even explain which Facebook ad. They can't. All the people who talk about this widespread attempt to swing 2016 can't even explain what Facebook ads they're talking about. They can't even give you an explanation of what a Twitter bot or Facebook ad said or what was depicted within the advertising. So they're lying through their teeth. He was telling the truth about that. We learned that from the Mueller probe. He was not indicted. He was telling the truth about President Mashed Potato Brains and his son's laptop. He was telling the truth. The New York Post was suspended, and anything on any topic that goes against the Democratic Party's narrative, which is the media's narrative. Okay? We don't have an objective media anymore. The days of Sam Donaldson, David Brinkley, Peter Jennings, let's see, Walter Cronkite, Ted Koppel, those days are gone. Those days are over. We have now an establishment within media that these people are lifelong Democrats, and they just want to protect the Democratic Party because they learned in 2016 if they don't do everything possible to stifle debate, discussion, dialogue, and discourse, well, then they lose because their ideas don't resonate. Their ideas are absurd, so much so that we can't talk about them, and the only way they can forge or, create a fabricated, contrived, manipulated consensus is by ensuring economic consequences. So they'll say, well, free speech has consequences, economic consequences. We're going to kick you off of that platform or this platform or, disparage you in a million hit pieces. And so you have a groupthink where any dissent is automatically removed from the equation, the discussion, and people point to a consensus, but it's a fabricated, contrived consensus. It's only a consensus because anyone who would offer a dissenting opinion has been marginalized, disparaged, demeaned, or will suffer or could suffer economically. So, and Trump, however, is a billionaire, so he doesn't care. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I mean, you see it everywhere. You see this dystopian world. Howard Stern, for example. Howard Stern was a legend, an icon. Here's a man 20, 30 years ago who would have, he was friends with Trump, but who would have voted Trump? He would have loved everything President Trump stands for, which, by the way, is really only a great economy and a great foreign policy. Trump doesn't stand for all the divisive things that Democrats claim he stands for. Now, should he have not stated certain things? Yeah, it's true. But Biden has said worse. He has said worse and done worse with the with the 94 crime bill and with what he said about you're not who you are if you don't vote for him. I mean, those things are worse, objectively. Trump signed the First Step Act allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. We had record low black and Latino unemployment. We had inflation less than 2%. We had gas prices less than $3. We had economic growth, hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs. But of course, Howard Stern doesn't like Republicans, thinks they're nuts. And I bring up his name because he's in the news now, always going after Republicans. I have no affinity for the Republican Party. I like Trump Republicans. That's a completely different ballgame. Because I like a good economy. I like a great foreign policy that is the opposite of what the Lincoln Project wants. But now you have, think of this world. Trump was telling the truth about everything. You have Howard Stern, the Lincoln Project, James Comey, Nancy Pelosi, all of Hollywood in one paradigm of thought, in one political camp. And I last thought about Howard Stern. Here's a man who would have gotten canceled immediately 30 years ago if the same nonsense existed then as exists today. He would have never been allowed to voice his hilarious, to communicate. He was hilarious every single day for years, for decades. This man pushed the envelope. They say Trump pushed the envelope. Howard Stern pushed the envelope like Sam Kinison. I love Sam Kinison. Don Rickles. Love Don Rickles. I mean, there are comedians that push the envelope, and Howard Stern was one of those people, along with Don Rickles, Sam Kinison, all the great comedians, Andrew Dice Clay, all the great comedians. Okay? Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, I mean, they all push the envelope to an extent. But you look at like Sam Kinison and Howard Stern, these were legends. Okay? Now you actually have to sell your soul to the mob, to the groupthink, to the apoplectic, hysterical, angry, malicious crowd. And for example, Howard Stern knows this. That's just, he could get canceled any day for anything he's done the past 30 years. The reason I bring that up is that's a segue into media and journalism. Look what they've done to Trump. Look what they've done to this country. They lied about Hunter's laptop. They prevented discussion and discourse about it right before people went to the polls. They accused Trump for 5 years of being installed by the Kremlin. They've lied about every topic. They initially said recently inflation is good. It means there's demand for things. They said inflation was temporary. I mean, you could have a long list. Then they say, we have this 10,000 lies from Trump. If you utilize the same standard of judgment, if you said, well, we're going to look at President Obama's statements or Biden's statements or Clinton's statements, you would have the same 10,000 lies, probably more. But they look at Trump and all the hyperbolic statements from other presidents, they don't look at. So when the Washington Post has a running tally of 10,000 lies, there was one researcher who said, yeah, about a third of it, 25%, is categorically true. And then maybe another 20% was just, they just focused on hyperbole. And then even more, it was a rebuttal. So a fact check now has turned into a rebuttal. Usually a fact check is only, did the 1955, who won the World Series in 1955? If you say the Yankees, fact check, wrong. It's the Brooklyn Dodgers. End of discussion. That's a fact check. Not we rated 3.67589 Pinocchios. We rated lukewarm, not hot. We rated, somewhat fiery, but mostly peaceful. No. And that's another thing they lied about. CNN journalist with the building, in flames behind him. It's been mostly peaceful. Oh my God, January. So we all know media is an extension of the Democratic Party. This is a fact. This is not like some kind of hyperbolic statement where it's just, I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, and I only went to Trump because Bernie was cheated. I mean, how could anyone in their right mind vote for Trump? Well, because he was a great president. He never said both sides. They literally not only lied about that, but it's within the actual If you look at the transcript, it says, and I'm not talking about those people. Those people should be condemned. But see, again, with Trump, he told the truth. They had to lie about him because if they actually just refuted Trump in a normal manner, they couldn't win. So they had to lie. And he told the truth a lot more often than Biden has or President Obama in 8 years. Ask the people of Libya. Ask the people who, are struggling economically today. We won't even get into topics we can't talk about. Okay, so the lies are endless, and the fact check that's taken place the past 3, 4, 5 years, that's a rebuttal that could then lead to a counter argument or a rebuttal from the other side. So they're not fact checks. And Trump has told the truth infinitely more than Democrats have. Everything Trump said about Biden's economy and foreign policy is taking place. Ukraine is invaded under Biden's watch, and there's no explanation for that other than you have President exhumed body who is inept. The man, look, if you're a wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrat, you have to admit the man is inept. You have to admit this administration is completely incompetent and inept. Nothing is going well. It maybe the the spirit and the Democrats are just so happy and they're giddy that Trump is no longer in office and they don't have to worry about his tweets. But we had a good economy under Trump. We even had a better economy. Let's put it this way. In March and April of 2020, with everything that was going on, with all the hysteria and paranoia gleefully pushed by Democrats to tank our economy, to get Trump out of office, and they're still, you can't say, well, they did it, for everyone's well-being. Well, they're still obsessed over everything, and it didn't work. Nothing ever, we still had to obsess over it, but ask yourself if you're better off. Because the main thing Trump was saying, not that, he didn't have this secret illicit relationship with the Kremlin in his tax returns or, January, or he's telling, every time they went after him, he told the truth. That's why they can't get him on anything from taxes to, anything. They can't indict him because he has told the truth. And if he engages in hyperbole, well, okay. And of course he's lied. All these politicians lie, but not as much as Biden. Not nearly as much. If you look at every statement the Biden administration has made, and you see the catastrophic results of their policies, and you look at Trump, he had great economy, great foreign policy. They were more upset at the Helsinki conference than they are about a country being invaded by Vladimir Putin. So you watch. They're more upset. They were blaming Trump for a conference. They were more livid and indignant and apoplectic than they usually are. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. What did Trump not tell the truth about? And then if somebody's listening, well, you told him to tell you the truth about this. Well, why wasn't he indicted for that? Oh, that's right. He didn't have James Comey saying, he didn't mean to do it. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now.